Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the Pink CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard. My guest is award-winning investigative reporter Bob Mackin, the publisher of TheBreaker.News. Welcome back to the show, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob, front and center on the Canadian political scene, we now have Jody Wilson-Raybould kicked out of caucus along with Jane Philpott. What kind of damage has this done to Trudeau's pro-feminist agenda?
Oh, it's the timing couldn't be better when he's hosting an event at the House of Commons for the Daughters of the Vote, a group that's trying to encourage more younger women to get into the world of politics. And if they've seen what's happened to Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott, they are probably thinking twice because of this phony baloney by Trudeau about this doing politics differently, which is really just all the same. That there still is, discipline, caucus discipline, party discipline. He was promising to let his members of his caucus be their own people and represent their communities and their constituencies. But when it comes to something as important and close to the heart as Prime Minister, as SNC-Lavalin, an old boys club corporation in Montreal, it doesn't matter what they've done around the world to earn the bad name that they have. It's more important that they do whatever they can to help a corporation in need instead of reinforce and protect the laws that we have. Trudeau is looking like someone who chose a corporation that may be in need of discipline by the courts. We'll see. We'll let a judge handle that. But choosing a corporation that has misbehaved around the world over the Justice Minister, Attorney General, who he appointed from the Vancouver-Granville riding, the Liberal Jody Wilson-Raybould, who resisted the efforts to try to have her change her mind and then have her meddle with the prosecution. That was pretty plain and clear in that 17-minute recorded phone call that she released, that the clerk of the Privy Council, Michael Warnick, was doing the dirty work for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And frankly, I just don't understand or don't believe what he said afterwards, that he didn't actually communicate the phone call to Trudeau, which doesn't make sense because that was part of the phone call to Jody Wilson-Raybould, that he was calling on behalf of the Prime Minister and conveying the Prime Minister's position, and agreed to take back Jody Wilson-Raybould's position back to the Prime Minister. And in fact, Jody Wilson-Raybould's position was quite noble, that she was trying to protect the Prime Minister from suggestions of political interference by drawing the line in the sand around the law, around the sanctity of the independent public prosecution service, and letting them continue with their decision and their actions after making that decision to push this into the courts in Quebec to let the courts decide if SNC-Lavalin is indeed guilty of the bribery charges, instead of having it get involved in this newfangled deferred prosecution agreement, which is essentially a plea bargain of sorts that would punish the company. You know, the spin from the Liberals and their supporters is quite stunning, that they're trying to protect SNC-Lavalin because it's got new management, new executives, new board. Well, is it all new? How many people in power were in power while the corrupt activities were happening, not only on the Libya file, but all around the world? How many of those people are still there, or who've risen through the corporate ladder to new positions? How many people are in the company that didn't say something when they should have said something? This isn't a new company. This is the same old company. Maybe you've got some different faces involved, but you it still deserves to be prosecuted and let the chips fall where they may.
I see in the U.S. there's a move to make big corporations that hurt consumers have the executives have to go to jail. They can't get away with just fines. That would seem to be opposite to what the Trudeau government was trying to do.
Well, it's a legacy of the 2008 economic meltdown, where a lot of people pointed out that there wasn't enough accountability afterwards, that those that were involved on the corporation side, those that were involved in the government side of the United States, that didn't see any consequences for their actions afterwards, which brought down the economy, which hurt a lot of innocent people. So why shouldn't a judge decide on this, even though they crafted this deferred prosecution agreement with SNC-Lavalin in mind? They still have the option, as Jody Wilson-Raybould allowed to happen, which is for the prosecutors to decide to take forward the case into the criminal courts. And I think Jody Wilson-Raybould has been criticized on other files during her time as Attorney General, but on this file, I think she has seen herself as someone who was doing her best to do her duty to protect the law and to protect the independent prosecution and to protect the people of Canada.
Justin Trudeau said she was kicked out because she recorded another member of government when she didn't tell them. Isn't that something somebody would automatically do if they were receiving threatening phone calls?
It's absolutely a reasonable thing for someone to do. The Liberal spin on this has been to try to find some way to throw arrows at Jody Wilson-Raybould, and that's all they have in their quiver. That's all they have to try to cast her as some evil person, when she was actually just trying to be a whistleblower. She was just covering her butt, as they say, because this turned into, in some ways, a human resources incident. And she was not acting as a lawyer in that phone call, not acting as a solicitor. She was conveying her position, not giving advice to Michael Wernick, the clerk of the Privy Council office, and he was not on that phone call either asking for advice. This wasn't a solicitor-client privilege covered phone call. This was someone, Jody Wilson-Raybould, trying to preserve evidence of the actions of others. They're trying to make her do something that is illegal. This could be obstruction of justice. There already are complaints to the RCMP in that open letter by several former provincial and federal attorneys general asking the RCMP to take a look at this, because this could be obstruction of justice. So Jody Wilson-Raybould was doing something which I think any bullied employee would do, which is preserve the evidence of the actions of those who are trying to cause her to do wrong. And I think the public is seeing the side of right and understanding that desperate times call for desperate measures. And she didn't suddenly release that recording earlier. She waited until after she was denied her chance to speak to the Justice Committee a second time. I think the Liberal spin will only go so far, and I think it's going to go down pretty quickly, because there are already members of the Liberal Party of Canada, including a former BC director, Michael Hack, who are already saying that they're not going to continue contributing or volunteering with the party until Trudeau leaves.
So the party is ripping itself apart, but in the immediate term, what is Jody Wilson-Raybould's political future? Does she stand as an independent for Vancouver-Granville?
Well, that's a good question. She hasn't said yet. That's something that could very well happen. But then again, the Liberals could do what they did last time around, which is spend a lot of money to oppose her. The Liberals didn't spend money to oppose her last time. The Liberals spent almost $200,000 to get her in the position. She was a star candidate, and they had a war chest of almost $250,000. They ended up spending a lot less than that. They had about a $75,000 surplus, but they wanted to get her into Parliament. They wanted to have someone in cabinet who was female and Aboriginal, and someone to win that new riding that was created through redistribution, and they put a lot of effort into her, and they could try to do the same thing to try to prevent her from getting back in. So if she wants to stay as an independent, does she run in that riding? Does she run somewhere else? Sources are telling me that she hasn't really created her own political infrastructure there, because she's not really someone who came from the party politics side of things. She was recruited by Gerald Butts, but she's not someone who is a long-time federal Liberal. So will she decide to stay in, knowing that the Liberals could decide out of spite to try to do whatever they can, spend as much as they can to try to unseat her? As for the candidates that the Liberals might want to put in her place, some of the names bandied about are really off base. The grand scheme of things, Christy Clark and Gregor Robertson are both unelectable, completely unelectable. It's a non-starter. I think Christy Clark is way too busy being a director of Shaw Communications and the parent company for Keg Restaurants and Swiss Chalet, and being a special advisor at a law firm. She's too busy doing that to get back into electoral politics. If Trudeau comes calling with a Senate appointment, well, that might be a different conversation. But I don't think she wants to run again for politics, as much as that can be enticing for someone who's been in that in the showbiz wing of industry, as Frank Zappa says. She's really unelectable because of the way she left the BC government when the NDP and Greens voted to defeat the Liberals in the confidence motion in 2017. She really did leave BC in bad state of affairs when it comes to ICBC, BC Hydro, when it comes to the money laundering at BCLC casinos. Too many questions, too much material there for an opponent to try to hammer her if she ever did try to run again for public office. So that's not going to happen. And Gregor Robertson didn't run again for the mayor's office because he was told through the internal polling that no, you're too unpopular. So why would the Liberals want to recruit people like that? Absolutely not. But we'll see what other names might pop out. One that I thought might have tried for Mayor of Vancouver was Tamara Grumman, the CEO of Van City. She's also someone who's a former deputy minister from the Gordon Campbell Liberal government. Maybe she would be one who might be someone they could recruit. You never know. She comes from sort of a progressive financial institution, and she's got business credentials, so she fits that centrist mold that would appeal to people on both sides, the right and the left and the center of the political equation. Maybe that's someone. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens in the next little while, because time's a wasted. We're here in April, and May is not too far away, and really, the politicking for the October election has already begun, and that all-important barbecue season gets in the way in the middle of summer. So we'll see what kind of grandstanding and organizing happens in the next few weeks.
Will the NDP and Conservatives actively recruit or try to recruit both Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott?
Well, that's a good question. Maybe even the Greens too. Well, we'll see what happens there. Again, it's a matter of fitting them into whatever ridings they want to be, and whether they would fit into the caucus. These are two people who, on this issue, have demonstrated a willingness to be whistleblowers and to stand up to authority. Would they fit into those parties, and would they fit into the wider caucus? And again, would they want to fit into that caucus after being diehard Liberals themselves, as they said, until this whole incident happened? That's another good question that we'll have to see how it gets answered.
We'll have more with Bob Mackin right after this.
Arctic Star Exploration, operated by a team of proven mine finders, is focused on diamonds in Finland and the Northwest Territories of Canada. Work programs are underway in Finland and Canada. Arctic Star trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol ADD, on Frankfurt symbol 82A1, and the OTCQB symbol ASDZF. Please visit our website arcticstar.ca or call us at 604-689-1799.
Grand Portage Resources recently completed the 2018 drill program on its 100% controlled Herbert Gold Discovery property located in the prolific Juneau Belt in southeast Alaska. Drill results are expected through late 2018. Past drill results included numerous multi-ounce gold assays on multiple veins. Grand Portage trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bob Mackin. Bob, did the BC Liberal government back in 2016 ink a secret deal with Uber?
Yes, they did, and found out by a most unusual way that there was a Freedom of Information adjudication through the Information Privacy Commissioner's office. Someone was trying to get all kinds of documents about the Uber relationship with ICBC and how ICBC and the Ministry of Transportation was planning for ride-sharing. And under the BC Liberals, back in 2015, they started a top-secret project. A project so top-secret that when the Ministry of Transportation got ICBC involved, the people at ICBC were forced to sign gag orders, those who were working on the project. And then in 2016, they actually got Uber involved and did a secret deal, a non-disclosure agreement with Uber so they could help develop the insurance product, the insurance offering that would allow Uber to insure its drivers to get them on the roads here in BC. And of course, 2017, right before the election, that's when the BC Liberals announced their Made in BC plan to try to balance the taxi industry with the ride-sharing app industry. And they tried to spin that as a way to try to modernize taxis as well and have some new insurance products for taxis as well as getting ready for the eventual introduction of ride-sharing. But when they announced that, they didn't really go into detail. They never really mentioned that they had this secret deal in order to make this happen for Uber. They, interestingly enough, did not have anything similar for Lyft or any of the other companies. It was just Uber that had been working secretly with the BC Liberal government. So now this is made public. We'll see what this does to the NDP spin that it's been waiting on ICBC to develop this insurance product. Well, they've been working for years, and this is not rocket science. This is not, sending someone to the moon. This is developing an insurance policy, and insurance companies all around the world are always figuring out new ways to insure new things, new technology. New risks happen all the time, and they put their best people together and figure out with the actuaries and look at the dollars and cents and the business plan and make things work. And other jurisdictions around North America, around the world, other insurance companies around North America, around the world have wrapped their minds around this. So it's just not plausible that it would have taken this long, or that ICBC would still be in development after starting this plan at the end of 2016 to develop this jointly with Uber. This is something that I think Claire Trevina, the NDP Transportation Minister, has to be a little more transparent on, because more and more this looks like the NDP is doing its best not to ensure that British Columbians are kept safe and that they have options with ride sharing and with taxis, but it looks more and more like the NDP is protecting the taxi industry. Not that the BC Liberals didn't do that themselves, but the NDP had promised to bring this to market much quicker. Yet it looks like they're kowtowing to various forces within the industry. There's the Cater app out of Surrey, which is essentially a hybrid of taxis and an Uber type app. That is a company that got support from Mo Sahota, the former NDP cabinet minister. And you've also got the situation where the taxi dispatchers at the major companies are represented by the Move Up Union. a union that has been a major donor over the years to the NDP, and a union that doesn't want to see dispatchers replaced by computers, because that's essentially what Uber really does. It allows you to dispatch your own ride, through computer servers, and there would be some job loss if the taxi industry does see some declines because of the technology. So you're seeing this battle go back and forth between the Liberals and the NDP every once in a while in question period. They both are parties that did their best to try to cater to the communities in South Vancouver, in Surrey, where there is a large concentration of people that are in the taxi industry, because those are swing ridings, and they didn't look out for the rest of us because when it comes down to brass tacks, political parties are more interested in power than they are interested in the people.
We'll have more with Bob Mackin right after the break.
I'm Douglas Mason, CEO of Naturally Splendid, symbol NSP on the TSX Venture Exchange. Naturally Splendid is a biotechnology and consumer products company focused on the global cannabis and health markets. Naturally Splendid is expanding distribution in this rapidly growing market with products currently in Canada, the USA, South Korea, Germany, and Australia. To view our comprehensive company presentation and for more information, please visit our website at naturallysplendid.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bob Mackin. Bob, the Whitecaps seem to be involved in some kind of personnel or allegations of wrongdoing. What's the story there?
Well, some new information has come out recently, and I think this is another legacy of the whole Me Too movement, where where women are not afraid anymore, or at least are taking steps forward to try to battle that fear, to speak out in some way, shape, or form about harassment and abuse that they have suffered. And in this case, you have ex-members of the Vancouver Whitecaps W League team from the 2000s, the team that won the W League championship twice. And some of those players were also members of the national women's team, the team that went to the Women's World Cup, to the Olympics, and also the Under-20 Women's World Cup. And back then, there was a situation that happened. October 9th, 2008 was the day that the Canadian Soccer Association and the Whitecaps both put out a news release that they had made a coaching change so close for the national team to the Women's World Cup in Chile, which was the next month, that it was rather suspicious. Bob Berardi was the coach who had a very good record on field, led the team, the Whitecaps, to W League championship in one of the 3 years that he coached. He was an assistant coach with the Olympic team and got the promotion to be the head coach of the Under-20 team. Kind of a rising star in the coaching ranks, but he mysteriously was let go. Both the Whitecaps and the Canadian Soccer Association said that it was for mutual benefit, that the parting of ways would be good for both parties. I remember reporting on it back then, and no one really said much else. It was suggested there could have been a differing set of philosophies in coaching and managing. But we, more recently, at the end of February, one of the players, Kira McCormick, went public on her blog to make some accusations about harassment and bullying. And more of those were following this week. A dozen players who didn't put their names on the statement, but some of the players were involved in sending the statement. One of them was named Eden Hingway, and they've made certain allegations. And part of their allegations that they've made are not only against the former coach, but also against the Whitecaps and the Canadian Soccer Association, that they didn't do enough at the time when they were hearing of these complaints from players to actually investigate the complaints. They hired a lawyer to do a bit of a review, and that lawyer appears to have simply just negotiated a separation agreement and non-disclosure clauses between the two parties, or between three parties, the two teams and the coach, and it seemed to have been swept under the rug. That coach eventually ended up being a coach with a club in White Rock and South Surrey called Coastal FC, and that's how some of the players suddenly went public with their complaints, because they realized that he was coaching again, and they were under the impression that he wouldn't be coaching women again, or teenage girls especially, after what happened in 2008 and whatever agreement that was made. He ended up being coach again, and he now is suspended pending review by Coastal FC, and the BC Soccer Association is also involved doing its own third-party review. And the latest is the Whitecaps responded in a statement of their own, not putting anyone in front of a camera or microphone, but just putting out a statement saying that they're concerned and that they've contacted the Vancouver police. So this, after more than a decade, that we're finally finding out more of what was going on behind the scenes at the Whitecaps, that the decision to part ways with the coach at the time in 2008 was to do with allegations that were made by some of the players about his behavior. This is something that the Whitecaps will have to deal with. I think be a little more transparent as they go forward, because this left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. That this is a city that hosted the Women's World Cup in 2015. This is a city that has been the breeding ground for a lot of the best women's soccer players in the world. Christine Sinclair is one of them, and many other of her teammates who have excelled in U.S. colleges and then come back to play for the Canadian national team and are playing professionally in some of the teams in the U.S. Yet the Whitecaps don't really have much of a relationship with these players because of what happened in 2008 and how things went so sour. This is an organization that has had several incidents in other avenues or other forums. There was a teenage boys academy team that there were a couple of the players that were charged with assaulting another in some sort of hazing ritual. There's been a few players on the Whitecaps MLS team who have had run-ins with police. There seems to be something wrong in the culture of the team, and it's a unique organization too, because a lot of parents, both boys and girls, are being entrusted with the Whitecaps to care for their children, because they do have academies and residencies, programs where children are spending a substantial amount of time, living, breathing soccer, and the parents might have reason to question the integrity and security of the program to make sure that their children are actually being cared for properly. Soccer is now a business here in North America, and a lot of people will want to put their kids into a program with a brand like the Whitecaps brand, but there might be some who are questioning whether their children are actually being kept safe, especially when headlines like this come out from 2008, and it takes the Whitecaps quite a while to really address it like they have, and they've addressed it by basically saying they've handed it over to the Vancouver police. But it doesn't look like the Whitecaps are taking it as seriously as BC Soccer Association is. BC Soccer Association, maybe they deserve some credit for taking seriously Karen McCormack and her complaints and dealing with this swiftly. And we're waiting for their review, which could be coming any day now, to see what their results are.
Bob, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you.
My guest has been investigative reporter Bob Mackin, publisher of thebreaker.news. If you have any questions for Bob or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.